Welcome to Alaska Matters with Chris Story. To reach Chris, call 226-3933. 226-3933. Now, giving you something to talk about, here's Chris Story.
Welcome to Alaska Matters. You're in time for another installment of Where We Live. Last week we talked with former Mayor John Calhoun about some issues that I saw possible solutions for, and as promised, today we have the current Mayor, Jim Hornaday, the Honorable Jim Hornaday, in the Alaska Matters studios. You're going to find out what the mayor thinks about sandwich board signs, the gas line, and is he after your non-prepared food tax dollars? Well, stick around because you'll find out that and more right here on Alaska Matters.
Hi, folks. Jackie Ray here for the Caribou Family Restaurant. Here comes the Caribou. Here comes the Caribou Family Restaurant, where friends and family meet. Sign up for our drawing for Dinner for Two for Valentine's Day. That's right, Dinner for Two Valentine's Day. Drawings at 1 p.m. every Wednesday and Sunday until Valentine's Day. No purchase necessary. Downtown Homer at Pioneer and Lake Street or Soldotna at Sterling Highway and K Beach Road. Be happy this Valentine's Day at Caribou Family Restaurant.
Oh, no. I'm out of water. No problem. Call More and More, your locally owned water supplier. 24-hour service from your locally owned water company. Tired of working with an outside corporation? Want to support local business and get better service for less? Then put More and More to work for you. 235-8837. More and More is next door. 235-8837.
Blackwater Bend Espresso, no ordinary drip. Blackwater Bend serves up their own critically acclaimed special blend of coffee they call Blackwater Bend Blend. Halfway between Anchor Point and Homer, you'll find handcrafted gourmet coffee and gourmet treats. Well, here's my friend Chris to tell you about them.
I said, look, kids, get in the car. We're going back to home, Alaska, and we're going to have us some fresh-baked cookies and some cinnamon rolls. But forget about it. Forget about it. They're incredible. You can't find them here in New Jersey. You just can't find them. Forget about it. What's your problem?
You deserve a Bender Blender. Hand-scooped ice cream? Oh, finish the show for me, somebody. I'm headed out to Blackwater Bend. Like a little Ozzy Osbourne on Alaska Matters, possibly a first ever on KGTL AM 620. It's a guaranteed first. Well, welcome back to Alaska Matters. I am Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. As I mentioned before, the Honorable Mayor Jim Hornaday is in studio to discuss all manner of things with me. I've got a few things I'd love to get his opinion on. We'll give him an opportunity to talk about the city, where it's at, where he sees it going, and what his future plans are. But first, you have an opportunity to win a Blackwater Bend coffee card or 1 pound of coffee. So happy Valentine's Day from the crew at Blackwater Bend Espresso. Stop in to Blackwater Bend and buy your Valentine a coffee card. Deliver them a special Bender Blender. They'll love you forever, guaranteed success. Better yet, call now, 226-3933. 226-3933 here at Story Real Estate. Tiffany is standing by. All 7 lines are open. It's all you. 226-3933. Here's the question. In what year did the Alaska Road Commission dam the slough and create Beluga Lake? What year did the Alaska Road Commission dam up the slough and create Beluga Lake here in Homer? Is it A, 1941, B, 1922, or C, 1988? Call now. Tiffany's standing by. Give her something to do. She's sitting out there. She's bored. She's looking at the empty lines. 226-3933. There we go. 226-3933, and go to Blackwater Bend for free. So welcome, please, without further ado, Mr. Jim Hornaday, Honorable Mayor Jim Hornaday. Welcome to Alaska Matters, and thank you for being here.
Well, thanks. It's good to be with you again.
Yeah, the last time, I don't know, you were running for re-election, and we talked on Radio Realty, and then you rethought it, and then you ran and you won. Any regrets? You glad you won?
Well, it is an honor to serve, and as I've said before, one thing in Homer, public service is not boring.
That's right. Never a dull moment, especially in the winter. Things dull down in the summer, though, don't they, for you?
Yeah, but we're in February now. So.
Right, it's not boring now. When did you make Homer your home? How long have you been here?
Well, we first came to Homer in 1964, and we spent our first night up what is now Karen Hornaday Park, which was kind of interesting. Yeah. Harry Gregoire, a former mayor, was the first person I met in Homer. And then I opened a law office here in the early 70s. The main office was in Kenai with Jim Fisher. And then I started in on the bench down here in 76.
I thought the bench brought you down here, but you were in private practice for a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we had offices in Kenai, Homer, and Saldovia.
Oh, wow. Wow. They kept you hopping.
Right.
Was it love at first sight for Homer, and you said, that's it, lock me in?
Yeah, in 1960, it's the typical, we just had one child. Mary wasn't even a year old. And we drove down the Homer Hill, and it was one of those days, and Karen and I looked at each other and said, man. Took a while to get down here, but we finally made it.
Yeah, good for you. And a lot of other people have followed you. What's been the biggest change over those years that you've seen around the Bay Area? Well,
I think the increase in population is you used to look up on the hill when you're coming back from the spit at night, there weren't very many lights. Now you notice a lot of lights. And I think the improvements in transportation, the paving, that sort of thing, the port, the airport, there's been a lot of changes.
A lot of infrastructure.
Yeah, well, of course, a beautiful school. We still have, I think that school that my wife and others worked on is probably still one of the best facilities in the nation.
I loved it there. That's the best 7 years of my life. You're talking about the high school, right?
Yeah.
It was only 4 years, but yeah. No, it was a great school.
They let you out, didn't they?
They did. Eventually, they kicked me out. No, it was a good school. The pottery program in particular, there, really I identified with that, and it was great. Great school.
Jack Walsh?
Jack Walsh.
Yes.
Yeah, what a neat guy. And because of the facilities, so many opportunities he was able to, expose us to, led to 10 years of a career for me, actually.
Good.
Yeah, I appreciated that. I'm concerned, though, personally. I've been here all my life. Well, with the exception, I've lived in a couple of other states and in Anchorage for a while. Here's what's concerning me is the tone of anti-business. The tone. And my grandfather had the same experience you did. He saw this and went, oh, wow, I've got to live here. And that was in the 40s. And then eventually did and started in business in the early 50s here in Homer. And I'm looking out and I'm seeing some really strange circumstances from where I sit. And so I'm happy that you're here, that we can talk about them from your perspective. One classic example of what I consider anti-business, and maybe you'll agree with me, is the new sign ordinance that has been sent back from council back to planning to make it more business-friendly. Was that the right decision?
Well, boy, if you want to have an interesting discussion in Homer, just bring up signs and seawalls.
Yeah, we'll get to the seawall. No,
my feeling was that the Planning Commission had spent a long time working on that, and I thought they had a pretty good balance. It'll be interesting what they come up with. But I have a lot of respect for the Planning Commission. They're volunteers and they serve without pay, and they really put a lot of hard work into it. And we'll see what they come up with. I don't agree that it was anti-business. I've run 5 small businesses myself, and so no, I would say that it's not anti-business. One of the things I want to point out is that we have a number of interest groups in Homer who are very, very vocal, but they don't necessarily speak for the city, and they're entitled to their opinions, but they don't speak for the city. As far as I'm concerned, the city's open for business.
Well, let's talk specifically then, your background being law. How did you feel about the fact that due process, in my opinion, was being violated by, or at least thwarted by, the appeal process? So let's say if I'm in violation, the planning department finds me in violation of the sign ordinance, I have 7 days to appeal that. It used to be 30, now it's 7 in the new ordinance. And then the city has 60 days with which to process my appeal, and once they've deemed it valid that I'm in violation, I can no longer appeal to the Board of Adjustment being the council. I have to go to court. Everybody's got to hire attorneys. What say you? That seems very anti-business to me.
Well, I guess, everybody has their own opinion, but it eliminated one part of the appeal process. So in some ways it's saving money, so you don't have to go through an appeal and then you don't like that, you end up in court.
But the council's my neighbors. The council are my friends. They're people that we're in the community together. You know what I mean? It just seems to me that that's such a vital part of the small town. To skip that part of the process,
we'll see what they come up with.
All right. My solution, I drafted in about 5 minutes, and it was in the Homer News a couple of weeks ago, and it's on my website. And it was simple, and took me like 5 minutes.
I read it.
What did you think?
Well, I thought you had some points, but I'm generally supportive of the Planning Commission.
But if I spend 6 months working on something, let me say this. This is how I felt. They were climbing the ladder, working hard on climbing the ladder, going from rung to rung to rung, only to get to the top and be told by the council, you climbed the wrong wall.
Well, I know that I represented some businesses here when I was practicing law, and the existing appeal process was very long and drawn out. Mm-hmm. And I'm hopeful that this will shorten it. I could be wrong on that. Mm-hmm. I hope it'll save money in the long run to the businesses. But I'm certainly as I say, I've run 5 small businesses.
Yeah.
I spent most of my adult life in the private sector.
I don't doubt it. I thought it was interesting that Sharon Minch said, I'm not doing any. So it seemed to me that the whole point of the sign ordinance was sort of top-down. It seemed that the administration was pushing planning. Planning then came to the joint work session of the council and said, you guys, Sharon said specifically, I want some direction from council. I'm not going to go off on this. I know administration wants me to, but I'm not going to without your direction. And so council had some input, and that's where I think Councilman Hogan brought up sandwich board signs. I think when I read those minutes, he was specifically speaking to the spit. I could be wrong. The simplest solution possible is to say, here's the sandwich board sign you can have, here's where it can be, and here's how you must handle it. Now everybody go have a good day. Spaghetti feeds, Rotary, everybody. Does that not make sense?
Well, I'm going to listen closely to the Planning Commission, and some of the people that opposed sandwich signs were supporting sandwich signs when it came time to talk to the city council. So
okay,
there's some inconsistency there, but
okay.
I just don't feel that it's an anti-business. I think we have a good Planning Commission.
Well, I'm not saying we don't, but I am saying that was an anti-business piece of legislation. And then I felt when the business community showed up to speak about it, I think they were shut down. Personally, I felt that they were treated.
At the council meeting?
No, at the planning. When there was no applause allowed, and I guess everybody can run a meeting the way they wanted to, but it seemed to me that it was a little, the tone wasn't good. Well, let's move on to another subject. Don Blackwell, 22 years, charged commercial water. Homer Electric recognizes him as commercial. The city, in fact, used Don Blackwell's business to establish the non-conforming use for the water station next door. I proposed a simple solution maybe 5 years ago, which was rezone. The 1999 Comprehensive Plan update calls for an expansion of CBD, Commercial Business District, east and west of Homer. Well, we've done the west end, and it's worked out pretty well. And now it's time to do east end. 4 or 5 years ago, Mr. Reedy said he had an administrative solution to Don's problems, and we didn't need to worry about rezoning that east corridor. What do you think about that? Maybe just let's rezone that district and be done with it and call it CBD out to Blackwell's property.
Well, again, I would want to check with the Planning Commission.
But it's been 4 years, and 4 years worth of different planning commissions have done nothing. What do you think?
Well, planning and zoning is a very complicated situation, and there's all different kinds of views. Some people think we're turning into trash town. Other people think the restrictions are too complicated. I'm not going to take a specific position on that one. I think the Planning Commission probably should take another look at it.
I would like them to. That just the rezone makes just so much sense.
You also have, citizen litigators that get involved and get very expensive.
He got involved in the West End, what ended up being the Gateway Business District versus the expansion of CBD, but it's very similar with a few exceptions. He did get involved out here, and I believe he even called it spot zoning, but this zone stands and stood, and I think it's been a benefit. This is an exciting conversation we're having with the Honorable Mayor Jim Hornaday of Homer. We're going to go take a couple of minutes here and say hello to some of our sponsors, and be back with more with the Honorable Mayor Jim Hornaday right here on Alaska Matters.
Yeah, can I?
Snowbound? Call 399-1526 for Gregoire Construction. When you need snow removal, snow plowing, and sanding this winter, call Richard, 399-1526. If the recent heavy snowfall has literally got you down, call 399-1526 today for snow removal. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Gregoire Construction, 399-1526.
Panoramic Heights, spectacular ocean and mountain views, including volcanoes and incredible sunsets. Live outside of town, but less than 10 minutes from Homer. Affordable land for your dream home. These lots are priced to sell. Owners will finance, and so will First National Bank Alaska. Call Deborah at Bay Realty at 235-6183 for more information today. 235-6183, and enjoy the privacy and quiet life this wonderful subdivision offers. Or how about 52 acres next door? Celebrate nature. Set amid the rolling hills, peace and privacy can be yours on this 52-acre estate. Live well on this beautiful parcel. Moose, bear, and other wildlife are here to greet you. Come home to a secluded estate, away from the world, but within driving distance to everything. Urban farmers and ranchers will find this a true delight. Call Deborah Lysick at Bay Realty at 235-6183. When you need results, Bay Realty works.
Shane and April Arno lost their home to a fire February 5th. The good news is that Shane, April, their daughter and son, and their dog were not at home. The bad news, the only thing they now have is whatever they had with them. As usual, we're all asking what we can do to help. An account has been set up at Wells Fargo Bank. You can drop off some cash help. Plus, a dessert fundraiser is planned for this Sunday at 6 p.m. at Homer Elementary School. Call with questions, 299-1392.
You're listening to Alaska Matters. Blackwater Bend, your local coffee supplier. Gourmet coffee, never leave Homer without it. In what year did the Alaska Road Commission dam the slough and create Beluga Lake? We've got one winner. We're looking for one more. 226-3933 was in 1941, 1922, or 1988. We'll throw out 88. I'll do that for you. It's either 1941 or 1922. Give Tiffany a call, 226-3933, 226-3933. Want to thank Dutch Boy Landscaping for making this half of the show possible. Danny and the crew at Dutch Boy are getting ready to start dismantling all those beautiful Christmas lights around town, and suggest if you can see bare grass, now would be a good time to sprinkle out some lime, fertilizer, and grass seed. That's from Danny at Dutch Boy Landscaping. Thank you for being part of the program. We're here with Mr. Mayor Jim Hornaday, the Honorable Jim Hornaday. We've been talking about sign ordinances. We've been talking about possible solutions for Don Blackwell and rezoning the East End Road. I want to get to non-prepared food tax holiday and water rates in the new City Hall. But first, Jim's got a few items, legislative priorities. Sir, what are the legislative priorities this year?
Yeah, well, thanks. The council worked hard on these and put together 15 priorities. I just got back from Juneau, where we talked to legislators and to administrative people. First is the sewer treatment plant biosolids treatment improvements. Second is the South Peninsula natural gas line. 3 are harbor improvements. As you know, we received the first clean harbor certificate in the state of Alaska.
That's impressive. Nice job.
And the Skyline Fire Station. 5 is fishing lagoon improvements. We need to dredge that so we can save the smoke. Karen Hornaday Park improvements. A lot of excitement on that one. 7 fire engine 4 and tanker in the track. Of course, we hope we can get that done. Alternative water source. Deepwater cruise ship dock expansion, that's very important. Homer intersection improvements and Ocean Drive reconstruction with the turn lane. And we can never have a list of projects without a restroom. So we have the Mariner Park restroom on here.
Right.
Also, 14, the Ketchimak Drive rehabilitation pathway, and 15, truck loading facility and upgrades at the fish dock. And we have a number of other projects on our capital list, but these are the priorities that we're working on.
It's a reasonable list. Let's go back to the sewer real quick. Is that expanding the existing deep shaft system? What's needed there?
Well, it's basically improving the sludge situation. It's kind of a lot of stuff to be talking about.
Yeah, especially around the noon hour.
But the idea is to improve the sewer system. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, got it. Let me. While we're there, let's talk about water real quick. Water and sewer go hand in hand in this community, and like bathrooms, you mentioned, you can't have a list of priorities without a new bathroom. Well, water is required for all. That's one thing we all have in common. And let me give you my concerns, and if you can address them, or at least to share with me your opinion. The water costs X to produce, sewer costs X or Y to handle. That equals Z per gallon. So we got X, Y, Z, we got a formula. There's a certain cost that it takes to produce the water and deal with the sewer in this community. Understood, there's administrative oversight, etc. What formula do you think the council and administration use to calculate that tenants of apartment buildings should pay $45 per month more than people that reside in homes, which is that new fee?
Well, I've been around so long. I remember, I think the sewer passed by one vote. When Homer,
you mean that new deep shaft sewer system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have a water and sewer system. We basically have a pretty good one. We have probably the most current and the best water treatment plant in the state. It was an $11 million project. And our sewer system has received kudos from throughout the state as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it is expensive. We're spread over a large area, but we have to figure out some way to pay for it.
Yes, I agree.
And we really worked hard to balance the water and sewer budget without raising the fees. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago they raised the commercial fees, and I vetoed that. And then the council overturned my veto. And this last year, the council and myself really pushed the administration that we did not want to raise the fees.
Mm-hmm.
And we succeeded in that. We succeeded in that. But this gets pretty complicated. We have to put money aside for depreciation. We only put something like $200,000 in. So therefore we had to raise more money in customer charges just to pay for it.
And that's where the $45.
This was generally looked as a fairness issue. We talked about charging each individual apartment a customer charge. The only other choice to balance the budget and not operate at a loss was to raise the fees across the board. And we did not raise the fees. And when it came to the apartments and the condos, there was good news and bad news.
We went from, to summarize, we went from commercial rates to residential, but an increase of $45 per month per unit.
Yeah. And for some of those, that basically, they received a reduction in their rates because we went from commercial to residential.
But not, in rates, but not fees. Fees went up.
Then the fees went up, and I guess some have had an increase, some have not had an increase in their overall situation. But
well, just specifically from one example, because we got the letter, we manage properties here at Story Real Estate, and when we learned this, we did a quick calculation. Actually, John Calhoun did. He's better at Excel than I am. Anyway, what we found is one 10-plex, the rates are going to go up. The fees are going to go up, actually, $15 per month, assuming a baseline of an average usage, in which case the landlord's going to just have to pass that along to the tenant. And that's my question.
How much did their costs go down when it went from...
Well, the net effect is a transference of $45 a month fee, reduce the water rates. The actual overage will now be $15 per month. So there was definitely an adjustment, but it's going to cost this landlord $15 per month per unit, and when leases come up, he's going to have to raise the rents on tenants. So tenants' net effect, the rent will go up. What we already know is that rents are escalating across the country and probably will be going up in the fourth quarter, are some national predictions. And I'm just wondering, it seems discriminatory to me to say we're going to take tenants and raise their rates. And I just wondered if there was a model or something used to say, okay, well, here's my assumption. I'll just stop beating around the bush. I think what the administration said was the apartment owners will absorb this and they'll make less noise. Tenants don't realize what's happening, I think, to a larger extent. And we're making them aware of it as much as we can, but they're going to have to pay more for their rent to absorb this.
Well, one of the ideas floating was to have separate meters And we decided that would just be too expensive and too complicated for everybody to put a meter in. But $15 a month, well, $15 a month is $15 a month.
Yeah.
It's used to maintain. It means that everybody pays. If you weren't charging on every one, then you could argue that the ones that are paying are subsidizing the others. The money is used to maintain the system.
Mm-hmm.
If, as I say, if it works out $15 a month more.
In that example.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably examples where they actually save money, if they coming down. I don't know if the council is going to change it or not, but people have different opinions.
All right. Well, you were happy with it. You felt it was fair and equitable.
Well, my main interest was not to raise the rates.
Okay.
Area-wide, and we would have had to do that.
Let's quick jump in. We've only got a couple minutes left. I've got to get to this. This is a personal pet peeve. Non-prepared food tax holiday. The public has voted twice to maintain a holiday, and we've been told by administration time and time again that if we, and Walt Reedy and I have spoken about this personally, that my opinion is that we're going to see more money influxed into the community versus less if people can keep it in their pockets. They know better how to spend it than the government does. So 2 votes have been taken. People said, no, please leave this alone. We keep hearing that all these costs, we could buy this, we could pay for that if we had that non-prepared food tax back. And the latest was, and I quote, we could pay for the gas line if we had that holiday removed. Will a third vote make a difference? I mean, when you see that discussion just coming to an end, and leave it alone?
Well, I always like to have people vote on things because that keeps you current on what they're doing. We are the only city
observing that
in the borough that is observing that,
and I appreciate that.
And there's differing opinions on that.
But do you think
I was opposed to
the holiday,
to what happened? I guess it's because we need the revenue, but
we need the revenue. You're such a nice guy. I wish you weren't a nice guy. We need the revenue, but yet at the same time we're expanding City Hall. We're looking at spending $260,000 on a lot next door to the sewer treatment plant, which might make great planning sense. We spent $200 and some odd thousand on plans for a City Hall that was never built. I need the money in my pocket. I mean, a lot of people are telling me they really appreciate that holiday. I'll give you the last word on that.
Well, I think the majority agrees with you.
Okay. All right. Well, hey,
but
did you...
One man...
Go ahead.
One man voting sometimes. One man with the truth makes a majority or something like that. Maybe not.
All right. The last couple of minutes. I know you want to bring up something here you brought with you. In what year did the Alaska Road Commission dam the slough and create Beluga Lake? 1941. We would have accepted 1942 as well because it took about a year. So 1941, 1942. Dave Becker and I were earlier talking about this on the flea market. We probably couldn't see the environmentalists letting us do that in this day and age. I don't know if we could dam create a lake. I don't know. Maybe we could. I don't know. But Cindy and Diane were winners. You know that you knew that it was 1941 that happened. What did you bring with you? You said you had something here you wanted to bring up?
Well, I just wanted to go through talk a little bit about the gas line and talk about the harbor improvements, if I could.
Well, we're going to have to do that another. How about next week? I have Kate Morris. She's a Christian artist, and she'll be promoting her new CD next week. And we'll have you the week after that, and we can talk about those are things, because those are exciting. I've unfortunately used up my time. I thought you had an announcement there.
Yes,
yes.
I'm very pleased to request the honor of all of your absence at the 30 years celebration for the Center for Alaska Coastal Studies. I'm kind of the grand master of that, and I'm working very hard at doing nothing, and which I'm very good at, because it's a non-event. And you're invited. You're not invited to a gala dinner and auction. You're not invited to dress up and buy things you don't need. We're asking you to not attend Homer's first carbon-neutral, no-waste, zero-impact event. Just send a check. February 18th.
There you go, Coastal Studies. Thank you, Mayor Hornaday. I appreciate you sitting here and answering my questions and having this conversation. Thank you for your service and duty to our city as well.
Well, thanks for your interest. Happy Valentine's.
Absolutely. Same to you. Happy Valentine's, everybody. You can catch this show at AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. Thank you, Dave Webb, for engineering the broadcast, and Tiffany for taking our calls, and all of our wonderful sponsors. Alaska matters, and so do you.
The Peninsula's home for unforgettable favorites. Great listening, 620 AM, KGTL, Homer.